But first, speaking of hedge fund baseball and the lessons of this season, a number of interesting things happening at the same time this year. Let's put the pieces together. Shohei Ohtani becoming a free agent, possibly the richest contract in the history of the sport. We all love him. While the top three teams in payroll this year are all currently out of playoff position, unlikely to make the playoffs in a 12-team format. Last week, we asked the question, how much money can you spend on one player? And the basic answer seemed to be around 10 to 14% of team payroll. Today, we ask another big question. Let's do a little digging in. And we'll start with this. Money's important in this game. Last year, 12 playoff teams. You know how many came from the bottom half of the payroll list? 3. Only 3. For all our tough talk about the Rays and winning on a budget, 3/4 of the playoff teams last year came from the upper half of the payroll list. This includes all of the top 5 in payroll. The top 5 in payroll made the playoffs, and 7 of the top 9 in payroll also made the playoffs. So, when you have big money, you can buy big weapons. Ohtani, Judge, Trout, Harper, Machado. Our question today, how many of these can you have on your team? Yeah, oh, look at that. That's an aircraft carrier. Dan O'Dowd says he coined the term when speaking about big money free agents in baseball. I believe him. I thought I was using it, Dan, but maybe it was Dan. Could be Dan. In naval warfare, aircraft carriers are the major weapon. They dominate the seas. They have since World War II. But they're expensive. And you can't have a Navy with just these big, cumbersome behemoths by themselves. Follow the analogy. In baseball, you also need aircraft carriers, but how many make sense? For the purposes of this exercise, we're going to assign the phrase aircraft carrier to a player who makes $20 million a year. We'll start with that number, but let's start there. Only 13 teams have a $200 million payroll, so $20 million for one guy, that's a lot. We'll move on from that, but let's start there. 8 teams in Major League Baseball, 8 of the 30, don't have even one. None. Even good teams like the Giants and Diamondbacks don't have a single player making $20 million in salary. Giants spend over $220 million in salary. Nobody over 20. That's a balanced payroll. They're, of course, led by Farhan Zaidi, who came up shopping on a budget with the Oakland A's. Some good teams have just one. The Twins have Carlos Correa. The Brewers have Christian Yelich. The Rockies have Chris Bryant. The Royals have Salvador Perez. The Guardians have Jose Ramirez, guys who pay $20 million or more. They all have one. So with that in mind, here are the clubs with the most aircraft carriers. The Yankees have 6. The Mets, Phillies, Padres have 5. Dodgers, Blue Jays have 4. The Yankees have Judge, Cole, Stanton, Rizzo, Rodon, Josh Donaldson. The Phillies are actually close to having the lead here with 7. Kyle Schwarber averages 19 a year. Taijuan Walker makes 18. But, I mean, we have to set the line somewhere, so it's 20. It seems to me, though, in general, 4 is better than 6. Maybe it's because the Dodgers are there. But you're probably thinking some of these deals just aren't at $20 million. Aaron Judge makes 40. Garrett Cole makes 36, and obviously teams have a vastly different size of payroll. So let's hone in on how much of a club payroll and the opening day payroll is spent on aircraft carriers. Again, the Yankees, percentage, are number 1 by a wide margin. Yankees spend over 56% of their payroll on the big stars, the aircraft carriers. The Phillies, Mets, Padres, Angels, all close, between 41 and a little over 45%. Now, the Nationals are in here because they still have Steven Strasburg on the books. Their payroll has been slashed. So let's keep playing this game. We know 20 million is big money, right? But there's a big difference between a flat 20 to 21 million, like Joe Musgrove and Kevin Gausman, and the guys on the Angels. Trout, Rendon, Ohtani. They make, respectively, 35, 35, and 30 a year. That's 100 million for 3 guys. So let's create a new category, the super carrier. This is the Gerald R. Ford, an actual super carrier. Largest on Earth, U.S. Navy. It's a different class. It's so big. In baseball terms, inflation's hitting, right? You feel it. $27 million a year is the new $20 million a year. Who leads the way in that super class? And is that a good thing? The Angels, Yankees, and Mets each have 3 players making over $27 million a year. And they also lead the percentage of payroll invested in these players. Look at that. The Angels are way out on top. 41%. Mets, Yankees, Rangers, all near 1/3 of total payroll. Now, you see the Dodgers way down at 23%. You can love the super carriers, but the Angels clearly got into trouble being too top-heavy. The Yankees have rusted out. The Mets have already blown it up. Rangers could be in trouble real soon. So what's the sweet spot? It seems the Dodgers, spending about a quarter of their payroll on the super carrier, have it about right. Look, there's lots of ways of constructing your club. The Yankees sure look like they needed to keep Aaron Judge. The Phillies clearly benefited from signing Bryce Harper. Padres went next level when they signed Manny Machado. But when you commit that much payroll to the top end of your payroll, you start saving money in other places. You need subs, you need battleships, you need relief pitchers. You get the idea. Follow the analogy. Come on. There was a lack of balance for the big clubs this year, and the love of the super carrier can sink your whole Navy.